A new season. A new dawn for Formula E.
Mexico City. This is it. Everyone start from zero.
Push, 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 yes, yes!
De Grassi wins! Mitch Evans wins in Mexico City!
It's a historic day for Porsche with a 1-2 in Mexico!
More power,
more speed,
more drama.
It's time to unleash the power of Gen 3.
Are you ready?
Hello and welcome to Mexico City for the first Formula E qualifying session of 2023. This race has always and is always one of the most hotly anticipated on the calendar, and this year that's truer than ever. Yes, welcome everyone to Mexico City. The energy in the paddock, the energy in the pit lane. I know, and I apologise, I'm coming out early with this one, is electric. I'm joined by some familiar faces, Oliver Askew, Karun Chandok. This is a complete reset because everything is brand new. We've got new teams, we've got new drivers, but most importantly, we have a brand new car, the Gen 3 car. The technology is outrageous. It's very exciting, Karun. That's where I'm going to start.
Yeah, it really is. It's a big step forward from where Gen 2 was. I think, you got more power and acceleration. You got more regeneration of the energy. The tires are different. Everything is different. And I think it's not an underestimation to say this is the most technologically advanced production race car. You got to forget what happens in other categories like F1 where it's made, but still, this is a car that has to be made for a cost across the grid. I think they've done a great job.
Yeah, the engineers are working frantically because there's still elements of the car where the pages haven't been turned yet. The data, it's a very data-heavy racing series. And Oliver, you've driven the car. What's it like?
Yeah, like you said, there's not enough time in the day for these engineers to really dig into what they need to do to make this car go faster and wind up at the top of the leaderboard. Like you said, I had a chance to drive this car yesterday for the first time, and the previous race car that I drove before that was the Gen 2 in Seoul last year. So it was fantastic to feel the differences. Like you said, more power, lighter, an absolute beast of a car. And I'd like to dig into the new tires, the Hankook tires. They are a harder compound. It's a cold day here in Mexico City. We can expect these drivers to stay out on track for the duration of the qualifying session, which is something that we haven't seen before. We normally see them come into the pits, change tires, and go out for a final run. But it's going to be a jam-packed session. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, welcome, Oliver. Wow, what a debut. Get the big guy.
He was straight in with tire chat as well. opening
I know,
answer.
Went straight in. We're doing no aero because we haven't got any, all right? We've got some new teams, got some big brands. Maserati and McLaren have joined. Surely for Formula E as a brand, as a racing series, that's a big achievement.
Yeah, I think, McLaren, obviously, tremendous racing heritage. Maserati, they were there from the very early days of motor racing, if you go back to the 20s. So, yes, you're absolutely right. Two very good brands. They've got great driver lineups as well. And so far, based on what we've seen in testing and free practice here, they look like they're in the mix, aren't they, up at the front?
Yeah, Oliver, you've been in the mix with the majority of these drivers, and they like to put their elbows out, as we say in motor racing.
They're ruthless, and once those lights go out, you're going to war out there. If you're not being offensive, then you're most likely being overtaken. So the best offense here is just to go for any open doors, any opportunities, and there's a couple of great opportunities to do that around this circuit. Turn 1 is probably the highest approach speed, the biggest braking zone, and I think it's going to be an action-packed day here in the race.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I am so excited for this first qualifying session with the brand new kit, the brand new teams, the brand new drivers. So let's give you a brief explainer of how qualifying works in Formula E. Formula E has a fresh new qualifying format for Season 9. It's an important part of race day as it determines the driver's position on the grid. The first round of qualifying is the group stages. Drivers are split into 2 groups. Drivers with odd rankings in the World Championship table in one, and drivers with even ranking numbers in the other. The power is locked at 300 kilowatts. The fastest 4 from each group then progress through to the duels. From this stage onwards, the competition gets faster as the power increases to 350 kilowatts. The 4 groups of 2 battle it out, where the fastest from each progress through to the semi-finals. where the fastest from Group A and the fastest from Group B make their way through to the final, where they'll go head-to-head in a fight for the Julius Baer pole position. The driver who wins the duel takes P1 for race day and receives 3 championship points.
Cannot wait to see those cars starting qualifying on 350 kilowatts. Super exciting. And the other exciting thing is I'm delighted to say that joining me now is one of our rookie drivers, Jake Hughes, who you were a reserve driver last year for Mercedes. So you know this championship inside and out, which hopefully will play to your advantage this weekend. But this is your first time full seat for the season with Neon McLaren. Jake, first of all, how's it been going your first weekend here in Formula E?
It's been positive. You know, we've been up there towards the sharp end both sessions so far. I'm feeling confident with the cars, similar to how it felt in Valencia actually, which we didn't know obviously coming here whether that would be the case. I think us as a team, we've done very well to prepare for this weekend. So yeah, it's looking good so far, but obviously going to quali now and it's all to play for.
This is the big question, isn't it? What is the key to putting in the best qualifying lap here in Mexico?
It seems like getting the tyre in a good window. The tyre is quite sensitive to temperature, so I think as you saw this morning, quite a few guys making mistakes. So the temperature's coming up a bit now, so it might come to us a little bit. But yeah, trying to put a lap together without a mistake, but that's the name of the game everywhere, right?
Exactly, and you're not going to make a mistake today, or the big boss, Zach Brown, behind you?
Absolutely not.
Excellent, nice one. Well, welcome back to Formula E and enjoy your first full season here. Thank you very much, Jake Hughes.
All right, thank you very much, Nicky. Talented young man and very confident so early in the season.
Yeah, I mean, he's a rookie here, but he's got a lot of experience in other categories. He's been doing a lot of work at Mercedes in the simulator for F1, so very experienced in other categories. And he's looked good this weekend, hasn't he? He's sort of been there or thereabouts.
Super impressed and so much experience in the simulator. We see that paying off here this weekend. I'm going to go with a prediction for qualifying. Jake Hughes, I think it'll be a disappointment to not see him in the duels, and both Neos in the duels today.
Oh, if only. Please. Please.
I think they have a chance.
Okay, yeah, Sergei said to camera, you know, he good drive last year. Now he's with Team Neo. Let's hope that he can get that car up to the front of the grid. It's going to be exceptional. Karun, just give us a quick prediction with all this new tech that we've got in the car. What do you think is going to happen?
I think it's really hard to predict. We've had 12 cars in 0.3 of a second in the final practice session from 9 different teams. So, honestly, I think it'll be a very brave stroke stupid man to try and predict pole for this one. Yeah, it's wide open.
All right, brilliant. Well, here we go. This is the first qualifying session of the 2023 season. We're all really excited. Let's go over to Jack Nichols in the commentary booth. Jack.
The first qualifying session of the Gen 3 era imminent here in Mexico City. 2,200 meters above sea level, very thin air, but very intense air, full of expectation ahead of this first qualifying session. These are the drivers that will be out in the first group. It'll be 12 minutes long. It'll be Robin Freitz for Abt. It'll be Andre Lotterer for Avalanche Andretti, Verne for Penske, Buemi for Envision, Bird for Jaguar, De Grassi for Mahindra, Gunter and Antonio Felix da Costa. Get involved with the predictor if you can play. You can play along live actually for predictor this year, so get stuck into that as the session unfolds. There is Jean-Eric Verne in the DS Penske getting ready to head out. Now, normally these groups are decided by splitting up the championship order, but because we have no championship order, it's just one from each team that will go out in each group. 6 times in the semi-final for Jean-Eric Verne in his duels career, and you can see straight away cars heading out on the circuit. There's a lot of discussion about what's the best thing to do. Some teams telling me we're going to head out, we're just going to pound around for 12 minutes and we'll have the quickest lap at the end. Other teams saying that maybe they'll come in for a new set of tyres, maybe they'll come in and pit. You have to do a lap time within the first 6 minutes and a lap time in the second 6 minutes, and the fastest 4 advance through to the duels. That's how it's going to work. And these brand new Gen 3 cars for this Season 9 Their maximum power is 350 kilowatts as opposed to 250 last season, but in this duels session they will be running at their race mode of 300 kilowatts, and then they turn the power up later on. Here they come into the Foro Sol baseball stadium, which is starting to fill up nicely. Just 9:41 here in Mexico City this morning, and Oliver Askew is joining me in the commentary box, the former Avalanche Andretti driver. And good news is everyone bar Verne has made it out onto the circuit. Sam Bird was a bit touch and go after breaking down earlier on in free practice 2, but he's got out on circuit and he's about to start his first lap of the session.
Yeah, good to see him back out there, and teams will have a general idea of what strategy to run during this initial group stage of qualifying, but the benefit of running in the second group is that you get to see these guys run and see which strategy pays off the most. So a bit less of a guessing game for the drivers and teams in the second group.
Yeah, all the teams out, or all the teams are out in both groups as well, so they will have the data from their own cars. Bird comes through the first sector. For reference, the quickest lap time we've seen so far today is a 1:13.2, which I think was at 350 kilowatts. In fact, no, it wasn't. It was at 300 yesterday for Verne. So, but low 13s was sort of the benchmark. But track conditions, very different. We're in the early teens in terms of track temperature, whereas it was 29 yesterday. It'll just be getting more and more as the day progresses. Jaguar, as you can see, have gone for this black and white look this year, changing from their phosphor blue that they've run for the first 5 years in the championship. And Bird coming through the final couple of corners now. René Rast is the quickest driver in the first sector, but again, it'll really be the end of the session where these lap times matter.
Yeah, you say that, but it's interesting to see, as Bird runs a bit wide there coming to the line, interesting to see that that the lap times didn't progress so much between FP1 and FP2.
Mike, can you hear me?
So it's understandable given these new Hankook tires. They're a bit harder compound, laying less rubber down on the circuit.
There's also the element of, although it is Formula E style, it is a race circuit that is used fairly often throughout the year. Here's René Rast's radio. Here he comes into the first corner now in the neon McLaren. McLaren joining Formula E this year. Most of the behind-the-scenes team are from Mercedes from last season, so they're a gang that really know what they're doing. And we'll see what Rast can do. He has had a podium in Mexico before, in Puebla, in season 7. Has raced at Mexico City before, but not in Formula E. He raced in the World Endurance Championship back in 2017 as he throws it through the chicane. Very quick driver, René Rast. Very sort of meticulous and really strong in races.
I could do whatever you want. I don't care.
Really strong in races, and at my time at Andretti Avalanche last year, my engineers were telling me to race like René Rast. He had such a great strategy and able to save energy.
Buemi quickest at the moment on a 13.864. Sete Camera now goes into second quickest. Lotterer goes third. Now Freins goes into third place. Rast is going to jump up the order here as he comes through. He goes up into third position. So, as I say, these lap times are going to tumble and tumble. Bird now doing another lap, and he's already done a personal best in the first sector. Ian James, the team principal of McLaren. That's the Maserati MSG gang with James Roster on the left-hand side, and this is their driver, Max Günther. Difficult year last year with Nissan, beaten by Sebastian Buemi, but he is a quick driver and topped timings in Valencia, so I'm interested to see what Günther can do this year.
So about 3 seconds off until the third lap here. Seems like that's the peak lap time. We'll see what the fourth lap brings for Sebastian Buemi. About 4/10 off what Pascal Wehrlein did in FP2.
Here comes Günther across the line. He drops into second place, slightly slower than Buemi. Sete Camera third, Rast in fourth, fifth is Da Costa. Now Lotterer goes quickest in the Avalanche Andretti. Jean-Eric Verne, he went out a little bit later. Sete Camera's back in the pits, so that's interesting. Sergio Sete Camera in the Neo comes back into the pit lane. Degrassi's on his first push lap. He's joined Mahindra for this year, and he's wrestling the car through the final couple of corners. Bit of a correction as he slides. Here's Gunter's radio.
Plus 3.5, but should be on a cooldown lap. We are P2, fastest lap is a 13.5, we are P3.
So we're P2, now we're P3, and now he's P4, because Degrassi goes second fastest. So 13.5 now for Andre Lotterer. And so those are the top 4 that will advance through to the duels as it stands. Still a long way to go. Robin Freitz is improving on this lap too. Only 600ths down on Lotterer after sector 1. Buemi's just done a big first sector 2. And has Freitz backed off here? I think he has. Yeah, I think he's backed off coming out of the chicane. Robin Freitz currently down in 9th quickest. Verne is doing a lap now. It's non-stop this.
Yeah, and these sessions are all about putting the lap together. It doesn't matter. Traffic, which is a big topic in qualifying.
Well, especially by the end of last year, everybody was kind of doing the same thing in the group stages. Maybe one guy would do an offset and then he'd get messed up or there'd be a bit of complication. Everybody's doing something different. Fenestraz and Bird are back in the pits, as well as Sete Camera. Rast is now up into 4th place. So the traffic's going to be even more of an issue.
Definitely, and they are policing, the stewards are policing impeding.
Yeah.
So unlike free practice where it's every man for themselves, they do get penalized if you see a car coming out of the pits here.
Here's a look at Robin Freitz. I think that's very, very loose at turn 5 and 6.
Very similar to Mortara this morning.
Yeah. Braking and turning. A tricky one.
Yeah, and I was saying in qualifying, it's not about going purple in sector 1 and not improving for the rest of the lap. It's about putting the whole lap together as one. Because these times are so close, the competition is so fierce.
Robin Freitz, half a second down after the first couple of sectors. Oh, you can hear the tyres just scrabbling all the way around. That was one of the things I noticed actually most of all in Valencia. The tyres are so kind of noisy this year, you know. You can see Thomas Biermeier and Fred Espinos a little agitated down in the bottom right. Freitz goes 9th fastest, doesn't improve on that lap, 0.4 of a second slower. Bird's still in the pits, so wonder if there's a problem for Bird, because if it was just a tyre change, I'd expect him to be out by now.
He should be on track now, obviously.
Yeah, but man, tell me the traffic. I don't see anything.
So that's Freitz complaining that he doesn't see anything, and he wants more information about the traffic. Bird apparently is just changing his tyres, but that doesn't really make sense to be going out this late with 3 minutes to go on a set of tyres, because everyone is saying that the tyres come into their window earliest lap 3, maybe 4, 5, 6. So very curious from Jaguar. He has just left the pit lane, so it's a late one for Bird, but we'll see what happens. So 2 minutes and 40 seconds to go, and we have got a lot of big first sector from Sebastian Buemi. He keeps doing big first sectors and then not following through with the rest of the lap, but here through the final corner comes René Rast in the McLaren. We're getting towards crunch time now, and where's Rast going to go? Across the line, and 5th. Improves, but outside the top 4 at the moment. Here we go with Buemi. His middle sector was decent, and his 3rd sector was good, and he goes 2nd quickest for Envision. Lotterer, Buemi, Verne de Grasse in the duels at the moment. The thing is, with the duels, especially in this first session, I would say, let's see what Sergio Sete Camera has been up to in the stadium. He's getting traffic there from Jean-Eric Verne, and that's gonna that's bad.
That's impeding.
Yeah,
in my opinion. Oh,
this is on board with Sete Camera, and Verne, and then he tries to go past him, and Verne sort of closes the door. He goes to the inside.
He has no idea he's there.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's frustrating for Sergio Sette Camera. He's on a quick lap now. It's interesting that there's no, normally in the groups, you know who would be a shock exit. There's no shocks here. I'd be amazed if Freitz and Fenestraz or Fenestraz got through into the groups because they haven't really shown much pace all weekend. Anyone else could be in the groups. Anyone else, and I wouldn't be surprised. But I would also be surprised. You know, it's like, it's both.
Yeah, a little, obviously we saw Sette get impeded there, a little disappointed for him not up there at the moment. We'll see, I believe he has started a final lap.
Yeah, we're down to 44 seconds to go. Now Vern, I think he's got some traffic and now he's trying to get himself a gap. He's hammered on the anchors to try and find a bit of space. He's found some space now, looks in the mirrors, floors the throttle, and this will be his final effort here, Jean-Eric Vern.
You can't see much out of these mirrors, so it's very much up to the race engineer, team radio here.
Next to behind Buemi will be a good gap.
Behind Buemi, a good gap, so that's what we saw Vern waiting for. Now, the timing screens are lighting up here, so this is going to be so busy across the line because De Grassi's going quicker in sector. I tell you, all these people are going quicker in sector 1. Lotterer, De Grassi, De Costa, Rast, Gunter, Bird and Fenestraz all improving at the moment and all quicker than Lotterer's current first sector time. So this is about to blow up here. De Costa through the final corner in the Porsche. Checker flag is out. De Costa goes up into second place. Is that going to be good enough to put himself through to the duels? Comes across the line, down into the first corner, and De Costa's up into second place. Who's going to be next across the line? It's the Mahindra of De Grassi. De Grassi goes up into second position. Now it's René Rast in the McLaren. He only goes 6th, doesn't improve.
Sette's purple in sector 2.
Yes, Sette Camera with a very good middle sector. Lotterer improves to go quickest. Buemi is up. Here comes Sette Camera through the final corner, and it's only 6th place for Sergio Sette Camera. Doesn't make it through in the Neo. Here comes the car of Fenestraz third. Fenestraz third in the Nissan. Bird goes 11th. Buemi is up. Vern is not. Buemi goes up into second place, and Vern doesn't make it through in the DS. So Lotterer, Buemi, De Grassi and Fenestraz advance through to the duels, and De Costa is out in 5th. Vern in 6th. Sette Camera 7th. 8th for Rast. Here's Lotterer's radio.
And still P1. Only one car too close and still P1 looking good. Yeah, that's P1, mate. Really good job. Really good job.
So Lotterer P1 in the Porsche-powered Andretti. Buemi in second place. De Grassi third. Sasha Fenestraz, 10 out of 10. Did not see that coming at all. Frustration for Jaguar. Bird will qualify last for the first race of the season. He's a driver who's won the first race of the season twice. Fenestraz in the Nissan. They haven't shown any pace in either practice session, but there he is, making only his second Formula E start, the young 23-year-old French-Argentine, and he's into the duels.
The opportunity is there for all of these drivers. Just very disappointing to see Bird stuck in the garage for the majority of that session. They just can't seem to figure it out. Some software issues, it seems.
Yeah, they've struggled for the last 2 days of Jaguar. Evans had a bit of pace earlier on today, but he kind of shrugged when I said, at least you've got some pace. He sort of shrugged and was like, well, yeah, but you know, it depends if we finish the lap or not. Vern's been given a black and white flag. I presume that was for the impeding of Sergio Sette Camera, a warning flag potentially. So Lotterer, for the Avalanche Andretti team there, goes through as the quickest driver in the group stages, which is very, very impressive because, again, Porsche didn't feel like they had a super great...
2 thousandths of a second qualified. So we will race Lotterer.
Interesting to see he only got a penalty or a warning for the impeding.
Well, I think it was for stopping on track, we believe.
Okay.
So it was a warning flag for stopping on the circuit to get that gap. So that's what that was for. So maybe the black and white flag you can see there, perhaps the impeding might get reviewed a little more by the stewards. But Vern climbing out, and
he's not happy.
Again, arguably the favourites coming into this weekend, and Vern's 6th fastest.
So one rookie in the duels. There's another yet to go here in Group 2 in Jake Hughes. Very impressive so far in free practice 1 and free practice 2.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been really impressive. As Jake Hughes, his teammate Neon McLaren not making it through just yet. Here are the results after the first group. The top 4 advance through to the duels. Lotterer, Buemi, De Grassi, Fenestraz, the top 4. Antonio Felix da Costa will be on the 5th row of the grid. Verne on the 6th row. Bird will be at the back of the field. And there is Verne. We'll hear from him in a few moments' time with Nicky, I would have thought. And Bird is actually going to be on the last row of the grid in Mexico City for the 2nd time in his last 4 visits. He started 22nd back in 2019. Let's go down to Nicky, who's in the pit lane.
Well, we've just seen Sam Bird come out of the car, as you can imagine, being the slowest in that section. In the session, it wasn't very positive body language. He sneaked behind the garage now. The team was saying that they had to take quite a few changes to the car in between FP2 and qualifying, and Sam's feedback was that the car just wasn't handling how he wants it to. So unfortunately, it's not been a great session for him, which is really a tricky one, because after his torrid season last year, he was really hoping to start season 9 with a fresh start and lots of positivity. So this is not a good start for Sam. However, it's still early days. Hopefully more setup changes to the car between now and the race. And yeah, we'll find out how Sam gets on a bit later. Back to you, Jack.
Yeah, more disappointment down here. More disappointment down here at the DS Penske pit garage. Jean-Eric Verne got out in a bit of a huff and stormed down to the end of the pit lane. They were only 0.158, so only a 10th away from the top of the times. It shows just how close and competitive it was. But yeah, on this occasion, not quite enough to get in the duels.
So yeah, frustration for Jean-Eric Verne. Cars can slow on track, but not stop on track. That's why Jean-Eric Verne got that black and white flag. So you're allowed to slow, but you can't come to a full stop. The opposite of the De Grassi London scenario from season 7. So second group of cars are out on circuit. Muller, Dennis, Van Dorn, Cassidy, Evans, Rowland, Mortara, Hughes, Ticktum, Nato and Verline. And they are the second car in each team, and this is Eduardo Mortara, who's making his way around the final corner. He crashed out of free practice 2 earlier on today at this corner, and he spun at this corner at the end of qualifying last season too. So the Peraltada, bit of a tricky one for Eduardo Mortara. So second part of qualifying, the second groups, who will join the top 4 from Group A in the qualifying duels in a few moments' time. This is Eduardo Mortara for Maserati MSG Racing, still the same Venturi team as last year, but now with a Maserati powertrain, and James Rossiter as the team principal, and a new name as well. That's Rossiter there on the right-hand side, standing next to the technical head of Maserati, Jeremy Collinson, and we'll see what Mortara can do. Uncharacteristic error from him earlier in free practice 2, Oliver Askew.
Yeah, just pushing the limits of the car. He had 2 massive moments, and one ended up being contact with the wall there in the penultimate corner here in Mexico City. Mortara just, and the rest of the field, just building some temperature in these Hankook tires here in the opening laps of this second session. It's so important to build core temperature in the tire, not just surface temperature. So in order to do that, it's attacking the braking zones, using the mechanical brakes in the front of the tires. No mechanical brakes in the rear this year. Only regen braking. Radio here from Mortara.
The prep lap again. Try to keep your position.
So try to keep your position on the circuit, basically.
Yeah, his engineers they have a bird's eye view of what's going on track in regards to traffic. So drivers rely on their engineers to paint the picture.
There's Oliver Rowland in the Mahindra. Frederic Bertrand, the new team principal of the Mahindra team after Dilbag Gill left earlier on, or late last year. And Frederic Bertrand comes from the FIA and has a wealth of Formula E experience. We'll see what he can do to try and turn Mahindra's fortunes around, who've gone from being front runners in the early years to dropping back a little bit. I think that was Norman Nato going straight on at the chicane in the background after a bit of a lock-up. Hughes currently quickest on a 19.6, but Andre Lotterer did a 13.4 in the Avalanche Andretti. So we've still got a lot more time to find over the course of this session. Roland looks like he's backed off a little bit to try and get himself a little bit of space. Gets on the power out of the final corner and gets on his way again.
Pressure's on for Nato. He's seen his rookie teammate transfer to the duels in the first session here. So he knows that he has the equipment under him to make it happen. It's just about hitting his marks and putting the lap together.
Takes him across the line to go fastest to 14.5.
That's sector 1 and 2, another push.
Tixon being told you have the fastest sectors 1 and 2, do another push lap. Cassidy now goes to the top of the time for Envision. His teammate Buemi made it through. Evans across the line to go fastest, a 1 minute 13.7, 600s quicker than Cassidy, and that's a bit more like it for Jaguar, who have had a very tough time over the last couple of days. What can Jake Hughes do in the McLaren? Quicker by 0.3 of a second, and the fastest lap time of the day for Jake Hughes. The kid's non-stop.
So impressive. So impressive from him. We'll see. Man, he might be able to box here.
Yeah, potentially.
But of course, he'll stay out and push to the end as these lap times. Oh,
it's Dennis going past, I think it was Mitch Evans, just to find a little bit of space on circuit. He did a personal best in the first sector, and actually he wasn't quick in the first sector, so he's on a cool-down lap. Mortara jumps up into second place in his Maserati. Evans third, Cassidy fourth. Roland up into seventh. Degrassi made it through to the duels in the other Mahindra. Here's Pascal Wehrlein in the Porsche, 9,000ths down on Ticktum after the first two sectors. He's got Stoffel Van Dorn ahead of him in the DS Penske, but it looks as though Van Dorn's keeping up a sensible pace, so shouldn't be too much traffic for Wehrlein in the black, white and red machine. Here's Dennis's radio.
Fully blocked me by like 1 second.
Yeah, already done, mate, already done.
So I think that's Dennis complaining about Evans that we saw the end of a moment ago. Across the line came Wehrlein to go third quickest. So Ticktum, Hughes, Wehrlein, Mortara through at the moment. Cassidy is pitted for Envision. Hughes has pitted also for McLaren. So some of these teams are pitting and changing tyres. Doesn't look like Porsche are ready to do so. But it's interesting the different strategies that we're seeing, because I don't think Buemi pitted in the first group, but Cassidy deciding that he feels like he should. Here's Wehrlein's replay, and this was up behind the DS Penske at the end.
Yeah,
but,
no impeding there, as long as there's a couple of car lengths between the two cars.
Oh, he thinks there was, though, doesn't he?
Yeah. The DS just opening a lap there.
Yeah. Van Dorn is coming through the middle sector. He's he's off. Is he off? No, okay. The bollards threw me there. Van Dorn is a 1/4 of a second away after the first two sectors, so might be able to jump up into the top four here. Van Dorn in the black and gold DS Penske, reigning champion, #1 on the front of the car, and he slots into third place. Good final sector for Stoffel Van Dorn, up into third position. This is Mitch Evans, the car looking so lively coming around the final corner. He goes third fastest for the Jaguar team. 4.5 minutes to go. Ticktum, Hughes, Evans, Van Dorn, the top four at the moment.
Now, depending on how these teams have their cars set up mechanically, whether they're stiffer or softer than others, it could create more energy in the tire, heating them up quicker and possibly overheating them, causing them to have to pit and change sets. So interesting to see the different strategies between teams here.
Yeah, Hughes and Cassidy, the only two that have pitted in this one, so we'll see whether that works out for them in a few minutes' time. Here comes the Maserati MSG of Eduardo Mortara through the final corner, and Edo qualified second on the grid last year. He's now 6th and missing out on the duels at the moment, to the concern of James Rossiter. Still, everyone's going to be having at least one more hot lap. Wehrlein's done the fastest first sector of anyone, but he's lost a lot of time in the middle sector, and I don't think he's even going to improve on this lap, Pascal Wehrlein. So 3.5 minutes to go. behind Verline is the Avalanche Andretti of Jake Dennis, who's coming across the line now, and he goes quickest. Dennis goes 2/10 quicker, so that Andretti car looking quick. They topped Group A.
Really good.
And now they are topping Group B currently. 3 minutes to go. Here's Dennis's radio.
Push again, that's P1.
Well, push again was the message, and isn't he just?
Pushed a little too hard there, entry to turn 3. One of the most difficult braking entries.
He's backed off now, isn't he?
On this circuit.
So Dennis backs off after that error at turn 3. Van Doorn's done a reasonable first sector as he heads now down towards the stadium. He's coming through at the back here and getting traffic coming into turn 12, into the chicane, and he has now had to back off because of the traffic. So, and Hughes now has come into the pits, put on a new set of tyres, and is now quickest of anyone in the first sector. So Jake Hughes flying once again. There's the Mahindra team, but Jake Hughes is absolutely on it. No one else is pushing on this lap, and this is the problem. Everyone else is on a cool lap, so Hughes might end up with some traffic.
Engineers have to be on the radio to the drivers in front of, as you see, cars pulling over here.
Just about gets away with it. He's 1,000th down on Jake Dennis now after the middle sector, through the final corner and across the line. Where is this going to put Hughes? Is this going to be quickest? He's third quickest already and doesn't improve, loses time in the final sector. And you feel like traffic may have been a bit of a part of that. 1:40 to go. Dennis, Tictum, Hughes, Evans, the 4 drivers through as it stands.
These cars don't have much aero, but it does play a factor in that final corner. Is the fastest corner on the circuit, and when there are cars in front of you, you do get a little bit of aero wash. Could have been the reason why Hughes did not improve in the final sector.
He complained about traffic on the radio, so obviously didn't help him in that final sector. 1 minute and 10 seconds on the clock. Dennis, Tictum, Hughes, Evans, the top 4 at the moment. Most people are on a cool down apart from this man, Oliver Rowland, who is pushing for Mahindra. 500ths down after the first sector, after the middle sector. What has Rowland got? He's got a big slide, that's what he's got. And see how far away he is. It was 9/10 away after the middle sector, and now he's backed off.
He'll open another lap here.
Well, and he's only got one more shot. 40 seconds left on the clock. And those are the top 4 still advancing. As it stands, no DS Penske would go through, no Porsche would go through, no Maserati would go through, which would be quite the surprise, and one Jaguar. Here's Cassidy, we're on board with the New Zealander. Took his first Formula E victory in New York at the end of last season, stays with Envision for this season. Tictum has done the quickest first sector of anybody. Dennis has done a quick first sector. Cassidy has done a quicker first sector than Dennis, but not as quick as Tictum and Dennis. Here is Tictum now in the Neo 333, usually bringing up the rear of the field, but for Gen 3 they've built a beast.
And towards the end of season 8, he was strong in qualifying. Definitely a driver contending for the duels, even in the Neo Gen 2 car, but obviously much more competitive package that they've brought here.
Yeah, here he comes after the middle sector. He's lost everyone's improving in sector 1, but then losing time in the middle sector. Everyone is about the same. Tictum across the checker flag. It's second. Dennis might be able to improve. Cassidy goes up to 5th. He does not make it through to the duels. Dennis doesn't improve, but he remains quickest. Here comes the Porsche of Verline, up into 4th place. But what can Stoffel Van Doorn do? It's 7th. Neither DS Penske advance through to the duels. Across the line comes Nato. It's only 10th quickest. Now it's Jake Hughes, currently 3rd, remains in 3rd, and no one else is improving at the end of this session. Big slide for Mortara, only 8th for the Maserati team, and Evans doesn't make it through. It's 5th for Evans, and Rowland pits. Neither Jaguar into the duels at the first race of the new season. Rowland into the pits, both Avalanche Andretti's through, and both quickest in the duels. Both rookies through to the duels. Neither DS Penske through to the duels. The pre-season favourites, Van Dorn and Vern. Here's Tictum's radio.
Well done, guys. Redeemed from practice. Nice job.
Mike Henderson on the radio there with Dan Tictum. What a... Oh, Oliver, do you need a hug? Both Avalanche Andretti's through to the duels, and I would... So, coming... Obviously, you can tell nothing from Valencia, blah, blah, blah. But coming into this weekend, DS looks strong. DS Penske, Maserati, and Jaguar. They're the three that, okay, we can't tell, but they'll surely be through. No, none of them. None of them. None of them through to the duels. Oliver Rowland making his way out to the back of the garage.
A great example of the development race that we're witnessing.
Yeah.
And teams that think they have it figured out coming from preseason testing, you can't rest.
I am. You know what? I'm a bit flabbergasted actually by the results we've had. So Dennis, Tictum, Hughes and Verline, 3 British drivers out of the 4 going through to the duels. Evans will start on the 5th row of the grid, Cassidy the 6th row, Van Dorn only the 7th row of the grid. Remarkable, remarkable qualifying. So, Neo are through to the duels. Remarkable performance, they're back in contention, and Karun is with their team principal.
I am down here, Neo. Alex, we're just seeing Dan Tictum being pushed back into the pit garage. Are you surprised? That's an amazing performance.
Not really. I think we looked quite strong in FP1, FP2. So Dan wasn't on top of the list in FP1 too, but we knew that there was some performance in the car. So we know there's a performance. We just need to put it together. Obviously, Sergio had not gotten the deals, but I think he had not probably put together everything. Probably some traffic on track. I think both cars got the pace for top 4 in the group. Obviously, the section is, the time is super close. For top 5, 6, it's like 1/10. You're going to change your life 2 or 3 positions. So I think we got the pace in single lap. We're not sure in the race. We will know this afternoon. So. Really emotion, because last year we did 1 deal in the last race. So this year with Gen 3, we're going to do in the first race. So I think it's a good start.
All right, listen, that is a great step forward from last year. I'll let you get back to the team. Good luck for the duels and for later on.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Well, joining me now is the team principal of DS Penske, Jay Penske. Jay, a bit of an unexpected qualifying session there. You guys are obviously one of the favourites at the moment. Neither of the drivers have got through to the duels.
Yeah, very frustrating. After 2 good practices, the team was very prepared. We couldn't get a great track gap during qualifying, and unfortunately, neither driver could put together a full lap. If you look at the ultimate laps, we were quick in each of the sectors, but couldn't put one together, and unfortunately, we'll start in the 6th and looks like 7th rows today.
And in terms of getting the cars ready for the race, are you going to make any changes to the setup, or are you confident you've got that right?
I think we're pretty close. We're certainly in the window. The team from DS has done such a great job in the factory to make these ready to race this weekend. But we just got to put a lap together in qualifying. We'll start a bit back today, but we'll be ready to race.
That's what we like to hear. All eyes are on you guys. Thanks very much, Jay Penske.
The DS Penske team and the Neo team. It's actually back-to-back back-to-back duel appearances for Neo, because they made it in the final round in Seoul. Did Dan Tictum, so yeah, he's on a good run of form, as it were, but this is a much more real run of form, but not so much for Stoffel Van Dorn. Number 1 on the car, and not going to be number 1 on the grid as we get underway with the quarterfinals in a couple of moments' time. Both DS Penske's out. Just qualifying duels about to get underway here in Mexico City for the first round of the championship. The first duel, Lucas de Grassi against Sebastian Buemi. Put that in my veins, fantastic. Then we've got Sasha Fenestraz making his kind of Formula E debut apart from a one-off at the end of last year. He's up against Andre Lotterer. Jake Hughes making his debut up against Dan Tickton for Neo 333. And then Pascal Wehrlein versus Jake Dennis. Those will be the quarterfinals. And you can still get involved in Predictor because that is going to be live throughout this part. So get involved with that. The crowd's coming in to watch the duels unfold. Good job from Degrassi actually to get through into the duels because he's not the quickest driver over one lap. He only has 3 pole positions in his Formula E career, despite having amassed 13 wins. His last pole position was the end of season 3 in Montreal. So one lap pace isn't necessarily his strength, but to get that Mahindra through into the duels, really impressive.
Yeah, I was going to say, and on top of that, it's not the most powerful powertrain on the grid at the moment. Outperforming the rest of them, so.
Quarterfinal 1, Degrassi versus Buemi. They've had one head-to-head before. Degrassi came out on top. And Sebastian Buemi has never won a quarterfinal. In fact, that one he lost to Degrassi was in New York in 2022 at the end of last season. So Buemi 3 times into the duels, but never through to the quarterfinals yet. But good news for, and that's another thing, Envision with the Jaguar powertrain in the back, the customer team making it through to the duels and the manufacturer team not. There's so many storylines this year, I just love it. I just love it.
So in the duels, it'll be interesting here because you only get 1 flyer, right? It's your second flyer, and the quickest lap in the group qualifying was lap 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So the tires aren't going to be up to temperature. Luckily for these two, there wasn't much of a pause.
Yeah.
Since they were last on track.
Yeah, they're both in qualifying Group A. These two. So they were out in the same group as we see Degrassi, and it's just outlap and push, and away we go. Degrassi is the first car out on track. Just FYI, not that it's particularly exciting, but Norman Nato is under investigation for speeding in the pit lane, but he qualified 10th in his group, and that'll probably just be a fine if he does get penalised. But you know, got to keep you across everything. Here we go, first quarter-final. They'll be on the track at the same time, head-to-head, quickest lap time goes through to the semi-final. We're into straight knockouts here, and here comes Lucas Degrassi. Through the final corner, his first race for Mahindra, down towards turn 1. Onto the brakes, into the right-hander.
Nice and tidy so far.
Buemi through the final turn. He starts his lap now, so we'll see the comparison between the two of them. Our first look will be after the first corner. Degrassi coming through 5 and 6 at the moment. Buemi 800ths quicker through turn 1. And a long, long way to go on this circuit as Degrassi now comes into the chicane. Nothing too leery, but Buemi is still a little quicker, just over a 1/10 of a second now.
And that'll be relayed to the drivers.
Are you getting told all the way around the lap where you are?
I would like to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to have an understanding of how hard I need to push. You know, if it's close, I know I need to lay it all out there.
Yeah.
You know, if I have a little buffer, then maybe I can keep it tidy and potentially even go quicker.
Degrassi is catching a little bit. The gap's come down to just over a 1/10 of a second. Degrassi's going to be the first to set his lap time. Across the line he comes. And it is a 13.081 for Lucas Degrassi. It's a quick lap, but Buemi looks like he's going quicker. He's just over a 1/10 of a second ahead. Oh, but he's lost time.
Lost it in the final sector.
He's lost time through the Foro Sol. Big final corner here for Sebastian Buemi.
No.
The time ebbs away again, and it's close to the line. 200ths of a second, but it is Lucas Degrassi who advances through to the semi-finals. So close. Sylvain Philippe can't believe it, but very good news for Mahindra and Frédéric Bertrand. Degrassi, the winner of the duel, through to the semi-finals. So close.
It's a good way to start the duel session.
We're through,
First
mate,
duel
we're
of the
through.
year.
200s quicker.
We're through is the message from the engineer Tom Davis on the radio. He seemed a little bit surprised, didn't he? But he's done it. De Grassi's in the semi-finals. Brilliant effort. Next up, quarterfinal 2, Sasha Fenestraz for Nissan up against Andre Lotterer.
Is that the
Avalanche
youngest driver on the grid versus the oldest? It may be.
I think you are correct. He's definitely the oldest, Lotterer, but...
I mean, based on the wrinkles here.
Yeah. Savage. Across the line then comes Fenestraz. He starts his flying lap. Oh, really leaning on it through turn 1. Pushing it there, wasn't he? That was brilliant stuff. Because Sergio Sindicamera is the second youngest driver. Fenestraz is younger than him. Here comes Lotterer into the first corner. Now in the Avalanche Andretti. And Fenestraz was quarter of a second quicker than Lotterer in sector 1. Full commitment from the French Argentine. Nissan looking to advance through to the semi-finals, where the winner of this faces Lucas de Grassi. Lotterer's catching and closing the gap a little bit, though, as we get to the halfway point on the lap. Here is Fenestraz into the Foro Sol. Oh, Lotterer's got ahead. Big first corner for Fenestraz, but now the time is slipping away a little bit. It's coming out of the final corner. Half a tenth down on Lotterer, but the gap comes down to just under 0.02 of a second. This is going to be a tight one. Fenestraz out through the line. He sets the benchmark time of a 13.220. Lotterer's ahead at the moment, but only just as he comes into the final couple of corners. Lotterer out of the final corner now, drives towards the line, takes the checkered flag and beats him by 0.04. 0.04 of a second. Lotterer ahead of Fenestraz.
Another close duel.
Yeah.
So tight.
0.04 between them.
Roger's happy. Good to see. Good to see that.
Roger's relieved, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's what that is. And yeah, Andre Lotterer wins the duel and is through into the semi-final. De Grassi versus Lotterer. Is that the two oldest drivers on the grid going head to head? I think it must be. Here's Lotterer's radio.
Box. Well done, mate. You will be against De Grassi. You will be against De Grassi.
And in that session, Fenestraz was slower. So Fenestraz did a 13.220, which was slower than Buemi's time. So he'll be behind Buemi on the grid. Quarterfinal number 3, Jake Hughes for the Neon McLaren team up against Dan Ticktum for the Neo 333 racing team. And Jake Hughes on his debut, coming down into turn 1. We've had one debut pole sitter before, which was Alex Lynn in New York City at the end of season 3? The penultimate race of season 3. And here we go. Who was quicker through the first corner? This is Dan Ticktum. Hughes is up by almost a tenth of a second. Hughes has looked quick ever since pre-season testing, hasn't he? And he's now up on Ticktum. There's been he's just always been there or thereabouts.
Always strong in qualifying in one lap pace. As I said before, good to see him in the duels. Up against, I would say, one of the bigger teams on the grid.
Yeah. Hughes for the McLaren team, 0.3 now ahead of Dan Ticktum. Oh, Ticktum's closed the gap a little. Down to a 1/10.5. Here he comes into the stadium. A lot of time to be won and lost in this final sector. Really tricky sequence of left. Hughes through the right, out across the line. And the benchmark time that Hughes sets is a 12.788. That's a rapid lap from Jake Hughes, but Ticktum is closing in on him. Less than 0.2 of a second away. Alex Sui watching on. Ticktum across the line. Hughes is through by just over a tenth. It's the McLaren driver into the semi-final. They're doing such a good job. Such a good job. Jake Hughes, the winner. Here's his radio.
And we won that duel. We were 12-7, Ticktum 12-9.
To be fair, that lap time from Ticktum would have won any of the other duels.
There's 2 big laps.
Yeah.
Interesting to see. These tires aren't cooling down as much as I thought they would be.
Next up, Pascal Wehrlein against Jake Dennis. They've faced each other once before. Dennis taking the win on that occasion. And here comes Wehrlein out of the final corner and out across the line in the Porsche. 2 Porsche-powered cars here, so all about the teams and drivers.
Sharing each other's data, obviously. They know each other's secrets.
Yeah. Turn 1 comes Pascal Wehrlein, now left into 3.
Sideways on the brakes there, entering 3. As Dennis opens the lap.
Down towards turn 1. Throws it into the right-hander. And Dennis is quicker by almost 7/100ths of a second through the first corner. Wehrlein is down at the chicane. Oh, big, aggressive action there from Wehrlein. Love it. But Dennis is now 2 tenths up on Pascal Wehrlein. Make that 2.5 tenths up on Pascal Wehrlein. Jake Dennis with 3 pole positions to his name already in his Formula E career. He's now 4 tenths up on Pascal Wehrlein.
The parent team might not want to share any more data after this one.
Yeah, exactly. Through the final corner comes Pascal Wehrlein. He sets the benchmark time of a 13.0. Still a decent enough lap, but this lap from Dennis might be the quickest of the session so far. Here he comes out of the final corner and actually loses time in the final sector. Cuts the timing beam. It's come down to just over 1/10 of a second, so Dennis not having a neat final sector, and he only does it by 3/100ths. Wow, what happened there at the end of the lap for Dennis? It all slipped away, but he's made it through nevertheless. That got tight, tighter than I was expecting, but Dennis is through nevertheless.
Maybe taking a bit more out of the tires in the first sector.
Yeah.
And didn't have as much left in the final.
So 5th on the grid. Here's Dennis's radio.
Right. We need to check the front wing. I smashed the
Oh, he had contact.
Oh, so
That's the reason. The bollard on the exit of in the stadium section. So that's where the lap time went in that final sector. He lost 4 tenths to Wehrlein in the final sector alone.
He's lucky he had that buffer from sector 1, otherwise it would have been over for him.
Totally. So this is where we're at. Degrassi beat Buemi, Lotterer beat Fenestraz, Hughes beat Ticktum, and Dennis beat Wehrlein. So it'll be Lotterer versus Degrassi and Dennis versus Hughes, both Avalanche Andretti's through to the semi-finals. Mahindra of Degrassi and the McLaren of Hughes with them in the semi-finals. So, remarkable stuff. We'll be heading on to the semi-finals in a few moments' time. So, a remarkable performance from Nissan. They didn't make it through to the duels at all last season. Fenestraz has done it on his debut. Nicky Shields.
Well, Sasha Fenestraz, what a way to impress the new team. You've got everyone talking about you already. Through to the duels in your first qualifying session. How was that?
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's a good start. It's a long season, but it's good starting this way. We had quite a lot of problems early on FP2, FP1. I never didn't even thought to get through this. So that's why we didn't even practice 350 kilowatts, because we were like, you know, if we get through, we will be happy, and that's the case. So yeah, it's good. We nearly won again Lotterer for just a little bit, but it's a good start. Now let's keep it up like this.
And just put us in the driving seat for a moment. What does it feel like to go head-to-head to Andre Lotterer, you know, a very established driver in Formula E?
Well, it's crazy. Just the names, you know, when you say, you know, racing against Dagostev, Jev, and all of that, it's so good. But yeah, the level is there. It's super high, and of course it's frustrating in a way because I know where I lost the time, but of course he also. But that's, I guess, his Formula E is just finding your limit and not trying to overdo it, which is extremely hard, especially with the Gen 3 cars. So it's a good start. Let's see what the race can do now, and yeah, let's keep it up.
So what's the plan now? You've got a couple of hours, not long, to rest up before the race.
Just finish the race. I mean, my target is just take it as much as experience as possible. So do the least mistake possible. Hopefully we can score some points. That would be amazing. But yeah, finishing the race and points would be a dream.
Excited? Nervous?
Not nervous. Well, a little bit nervous, yeah, but extremely excited, that's for sure.
A little bit of nervous is always good.
Good nervous, good stress.
All the best. Thanks very much, Sasha Fenestraz.
So Sasha Fenestraz then having a good run there in the Nissan and making it through to the duels, taking the checkered flag, and a pretty strong performance from Fenestraz, you have to say, in the early stages. But this is what happened with Jake Dennis, running wide and really clobbering those bollards, Oliver. That's where he lost the time and did quite a lot of damage to the front of the car there.
He asked the team to check the front wing, and of course they can check it, but they're in part from A. So
I can check it, it's broken.
Yeah, I can see.
So that's Dennis saying on the radio, we need to say the FIA, this is a safety issue, we need to replace the front wing, because they're under Parc Fermé conditions now, so you're not allowed to change the car. Dennis is pitching, let's say it's it is unsafe, because that's the kind of thing you'd see arguably a meatball orange and black flag for in a race, to come into the pits and change. So we'll keep an eye and see what happens with that in a few moments' time. Don't get involved with the predictor.
He can deal with it.
Yeah. The first semi-final about to get underway here at Mexico City in qualifying. We are sorting out the grid for the first race of the season. De Grassi will be up against Andre Lotterer, and Jake Dennis will be up against Jake Hughes. The two Jakes going head-to-head. I wondered earlier on whether we'd had two Jakes in a World Championship before, but now we've got two Jakes in a semi-final. And the winners will naturally go through to the final, and the winner will get the Julius Baer pole position and the lead of the championship going into the first race of the year. And De Grassi's actually the only works car through to those final four. The rest are all the customer teams, because Lotterer and Dennis are Porsche customers, and Hughes in the McLaren is a Nissan customer team.
I believe the first time Andretti has had two cars in the duels was last year in Marrakesh.
Really?
I believe so. So super impressive, potentially locking out.
They must have had some great drivers.
Yeah,
there.
supreme drivers, yeah.
It's Oliver Askew, the former Andretti driver, with me in commentary this weekend.
That was my first duel.
Was it? Yeah. Did you win?
Can go drive
Did
mode
not.
7.
Oh, sorry.
Just
sorry,
check that you are drive and hold position. Drive mode 7, check your drive, hold position.
Some team radio going on. Lucas de Grassi's scored 1,009 points in Formula E, 12 fastest laps, 39 podiums, looking for his 40th. Most podiums of anyone in Formula E. Oh, apparently these two Jakes were together in GP3, says Saunders CB. Not a world championship, but I didn't realise they'd raced in the same category together. But there you go, learn something new every day from Saunders. And Jake Dennis probably came out on, I don't know who came out on top. Who finished ahead? Oh. They finished on the podium together, apparently. They had a 1-2 together. So they know each other well. Hughes will be heading out in the second group. Number of races, 0. Number of times in quarterfinals, understandably 0. Coming into his first Formula E race, Jake Hughes. And there is Dennis. 217 points on the board for the Avalanche Andretti man. Had 113 laps. In fact, he was the only driver last year to win a race lights to flag when he did it in the first London race. Just seeing if we can see that front wing, whether they've changed it or not. But
he always seems to turn it on in London.
He does, doesn't he? He was unstoppable. Right, here's Andre Lotterer moving to the end of the pit lane. Lucas de Grassi on his way to join him at the end of the pits. And when the light goes green now, Lotterer will be allowed out onto the circuit. Well, I thought it was going to be then in a couple of seconds' time. And Roger Griffiths, the team principal of the Avalanche Andretti squad, they were very excited when they made their announcement in, what was it, New York City last year, that no, it was before, it was Berlin, wasn't it, that Porsche would be supplying them with their powertrains for this season. And it's certainly bearing fruit so far. Quarterfinal 1 then. Andre Lotterer in the Avalanche Andretti against Lucas Di Grassi in the Mahindra. Never faced each other in the duels before. They have a combined age of 79 years and 212 days today. But they've still got it. Age is no limiting factor. Is it Karun? No, exactly. Karun's sitting behind me here in the booth. But I'm sorry, now I've just been kicked in the back. Lotterer making his way onto the circuit then in the Avalanche Andretti. I mean, I think I have to back Andretti here. They feel like they've had more pace than Mahindra throughout the weekend, but I probably would have backed Buemi over Di Grassi, and Di Grassi came out on top. It's a tight one, this.
They must have found something between FP1 and FP2, and that'd be interesting to hear after this session, because they've completely changed, turned up the game, and have found some pace in those red Avalanche cars.
Oh, but that's a lockup for Lotterer on the right front. He's not going to worry too much about flat spots and the like with these Hankooks, but still trying his best to get some brake and tyre temperatures.
Staying away from the bollards at least.
Yeah,
at least for this lap.
Di Grassi now coming around the final couple of corners. Lotterer starts his flying lap then. For what it's worth, the rest of the grid, Tickton will be 5th on the grid. Verline will be 6th on the grid. 7th will be Buemi. 8th will be Fenestraz. But now we've got to sort out the top 4. Lotterer down into turn 1. Through that 90 right, then through turn 2. Di Grassi comes across the line now to start his lap into the first corner.
So close to the apex wall.
Yeah, and a bit of a lockup there from Lotterer. He's gone off.
He's off.
Lotterer's off at turns 5 and 6. And that should be strong news for Di Grassi, as long as he doesn't make a mistake now in the rest of the lap. You see it jump up there. Well, Lotterer is a quarter of a second up at that point, but Di Grassi's coming through the lockup moment of the track now, so expect Di Grassi to jump back forward as he comes through the next timing loop. Lotterer's into the stadium, and there it is. 1.6 seconds. Now Di Grassi ahead of Andre Lotterer.
And that'll be relayed to Di Grassi. Just keep the rest of the lap clean. No need to push the limits and risk anything.
Here comes Lotterer through the final corner. That error at turns 5 and 6, meaning he does a 14.5. And Lucas Di Grassi is making his way through the final corner now. Out across the line. And Di Grassi goes quicker by 1.5 seconds. And he's into the final. Lucas Di Grassi into the final in the Mahindra. I mean, that's a really, really impressive effort.
Lucas in Mexico, man, that's a special, special relationship.
He's taken the checkered flag 4 times in Mexico, 3 times in Mexico City. Got disqualified from one of them, admittedly, but there's something about him in this place here.
Good job, let's go.
Mahindra are looking for their 3rd pole in Mexico City after Pascal Verline got one for them and Felix Rosenquist did back in 2018. Second semi-final, Jake Dennis versus Jake Hughes, Avalanche Andretti versus Neon McLaren, and I've got no idea who's going to come out on top of this one, although Jake Dennis, I think, is going to be hindered because it's the same front wing. They haven't been able to change it.
True.
He battered the bollard, and we'll see how much difference this makes. He'll still give it his all, and to be honest, if he doesn't make an error, he should still be able to out-qualify Lotterer, because Lotterer had a very slow lap, so we'll see what they can do. We've seen cars qualify well with damage before. Sam Bird took pole position with a broken rear diffuser back in Marrakesh in season 5. And let's see what unfolds here. Can Hughes guarantee a front row start? He's already a 10th up. Can he guarantee a front row start for McLaren on his and their Formula E debut, which would be remarkable?
Some bragging rights here between two team owners and good friends, Zach Brown and Michael Andretti.
Yeah, absolutely. And rivals in the IndyCar series, now rivals here in Formula E as well. Dennis is in the mix here. It's not over. He's 200ths down on Hughes, that's all. And now he's 200ths up on Hughes. Dennis now heading to the final couple of corners. Swings it through the right-hander. You can hear him just feathering the throttle. Back on the power. 300ths now to Dennis. Dennis does a 12.5. It's a massive lap, but Hughes is fractionally ahead. Here he comes now, out of the Perotada. 300ths the advantage. We're going to get one more check before the line. Oh, big slide from Hughes. There's 6,000s between them.
He's lost it.
Across the line, Dennis is through. Dennis does it. Dennis is in the final to face Lucas Di Grassi. Unbelievable job from Avalanche Andretti and Jake Dennis. Phenomenal. And it will be Dennis or Di Grassi on the front row of the grid. Well, it'll be Dennis and Di Grassi on the front row.
Mega, mate. Awesome job. Keep the pace up. Well done. Mega lap.
Remarkable stuff. Dennis is he's
on fire.
Just good. He's just
on fire. You saw Hughes just asking a little bit too much of that left rear in the final corner there. So we've seen multiple drivers lose the car.
And I think this is going to be a repeat, isn't it, of the second London final, which was Dennis versus Di Grassi. So Hughes will be third on the grid for his Formula E debut. Fourth will be Andre Lotterer. And it'll be Di Grassi or Dennis on pole. And that is the first ever front row start in Mexico City for the Andretti team. And it's actually Di Grassi's third final appearance in the last 4 races. So he's actually on a really good run of qualifying form after we've been saying not the strongest in qualifying. That onboard with Hughes all the way around was just, here we go, just enjoy this. Oh, oh, got it, no, it's gone, got it. Oh, it's gone, got it, no, it's gone. Super. I mean, not because he lost time, but a lot of fun to watch. And I think if you'd have given McLaren and Zach Brown third on the grid for their debut, they'd have taken it.
He's happy. He's definitely happy. Of course, an opportunity there to be on the front row, potentially on pole, but as a rookie, I think it's very impressive. And, good for what's to come.
So, this is where we're at. The final will be Lucas Di Grassi versus Jake Dennis, as it was in the second race in London at the end of last season. Dennis took pole position then after Lucas Di Grassi made an error at the hairpin, I think. And they'll be facing each other once more. I cannot believe Di Grassi and the Mahindra is through to the final, honestly. This remarkable Formula E season has already started. So, we'll be getting underway with the final in a few moments' time. But first, let's hear from the man who'll start 5th on the grid for Neo 333 Racing. He's with Nicky.
Well, Dan Ticktum, you were saying at the start of this season you wanted a nice, clean, fresh start. And what a way to start the season into the duels in the first race.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at our season last year, to be straight in the duels in the opening round is very, very positive. I mean, honestly, even in pre-season testing, Valencia, the cars felt strong. I was a little bit concerned in testing because I didn't quite put the laps together because it's a very difficult car to drive, the Gen 3 in general. But I put a good lap together and got into the duels. It's just a shame I was paired with Jake Hughes because he was the fastest out of all of them. So, but yeah, overall, pretty happy.
I mean, the performance from Jake Hughes as well this weekend has been pretty phenomenal. Is he going to be the man to beat?
I think he's been very unlucky in his career, to be honest. He deserves this opportunity. He's a very, very fast driver. So it's good to see him here. And yeah, I think we'll see a lot of him like that, yeah, because he's fast. Yeah.
Well, I love it. You're here, McLaren Liam are here, shaking things up, expecting the unexpected Formula E as always. Well, good luck for the race.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Dan.
So Dan Ticktum saying he's been unlucky in his career as Jake Hughes. Meanwhile, a mistake for Andre Lotterer means he's going to be 4th on the grid. Let's see what he has got to say.
Well, it's a great start for the Avalanche Andretti team, starting from second row and then, of course, your teammate from the first row. But talk us through what happened at turn 5. Just pushing too hard, was it?
Yeah, too bad. You know, it's very easy to make mistakes with these tires. The grip is it's not the same as what we used to. So to find the limit, be in the right window, there's not much forgiveness. So I thought it was fine, and I started to lock up a little bit, and then that was it. Too bad, because I think we were up, so maybe there was potential to go into the finals against my teammate. But overall, a good team performance, so we can be happy.
I mean, it's a brilliant place to start the season from. Just quickly talk us through, how's life at Andretti?
It's pretty good. Was welcomed very warmly and felt at home very quickly. I also came with my engineer Fabrice, so that sped things up, and it's really cool to be a teammate with Jake. We get along really well. We were on dinner last night, so we really work well together. And no, I'm happy to have this constellation also with the Porsche powertrain. So yeah, hopefully I can contribute to team success and get my first win.
Yes, that's what we want, Andre. First win's coming this season. Good luck, all the best.
So Andre Lotterer then will line up 4th on the grid for the race later on today. We're getting ready for the final to see who will take pole position. Mexico City, the first venue on the calendar for the new season of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. We're back in 2 weeks in Diriyah. Another 2 weeks later, we're going to be in Cape Town. The season is non-stop at the start of the year. And these Gen 3 cars, brand new for this season, have already proved incredibly entertaining in this qualifying session so far. And we just have the final to come. And it'll be Lucas Di Grassi up against Jake Dennis. The grandstands filling up, overlooking the pit lane. And you can see the Foro Stole starting to fill up as well. This is all the fan zone area in here, the podium there on the left-hand side. This is where we're at as far as the ladder's concerned. Lucas Di Grassi beat Sebastian Buemi and Andre Lotterer to make it through to the final. Jake Dennis beat Pascal Wehrlein and then Jake Hughes in order to get through to the final.
Could be a testing point in the future for the 27 crew, and Jake Dennis leaning that front wing back a little bit.
Yeah. Lucas Di Grassi in his 101st Formula E race, but it has been 68 races without a pole position for Di Grassi, not since Montreal back in 2017 at the end of season 3. He has had 2 poles that he got disqualified from, Punta del Este in 2018 and Santiago in 2019. But despite all of that, he's got the most podiums in Formula E history, despite only 3 pole positions. So you can't read too much into that. In fact, he won his race last year, didn't he, for a second on the grid. Jake Dennis, an incredibly impressive rookie. See what he can do here up against Di Grassi.
New colors on Di Grassi's helmet this year. Of course, he has his home race coming up in a couple of months' time.
Yeah, the man from Sao Paulo.
Sao Paulo.
Which will be 2 weeks after Cape Town. So it's absolutely non-stop. No, it's a month after, isn't it? We have a bit of a break before the Sao Paulo race. That's on the 25th of March. But right now, the focus is about one of these drivers taking the Julius Baer pole position, taking the lead of the championship, which I know sort of means nothing, but also 3 points on the board.
I want to say it'd be an upset if Di Grassi takes the pole here, but he's held his own.
Yeah. Here we go then, the final. Lucas Di Grassi against Jake Dennis. They've faced each other 3 times in duels. Dennis has won 2, Di Grassi has won 1. Di Grassi's 1 win coming in London last year in the final, where he took pole position. Di Grassi did a 13. In the semi-finals, Dennis's lap time was 4/10 quicker than Di Grassi's. So I think I would commit to saying it would be an upset if Di Grassi got pole. I think if you'd have told Lucas Di Grassi after free practice 2, front row of the grid later, don't know what I don't know if he'd have bought it. I don't know if he'd have believed you. I believe it. It's in the final. So Dennis making his way out onto the circuit. Degrassi will be first on track. Swings around the left-hander of turn 3. Degrassi coming the opposite way out of turns 5 and 6.
Okay, just do your thing, mate. We're looking to repeat. That's 5/10 good enough. Okay, just do your thing.
So that's Dennis. Basically, you kind of got half a second in the pocket if you do the same thing as last time. But it sounds like replicating laps in these cars is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, as we see, they're a handful. Good for us viewers.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. So here comes Degrassi through the final corner and out across the line. He is going to be the first driver across. Dennis will be following him through as Degrassi sends it down towards the first corner. Frédéric Bertrand is the team principal of Mahindra, the bespectacled gentleman watching in the garage. And now, here comes Dennis. Out across the line and down towards turn 1. Degrassi made it through turn 1 unscathed. Oh, he's a little wide, maybe at 5 and 6. And Degrassi's quicker though through turn 1 by 1/10 of a second. Hughes was fractionally quicker than Dennis actually through the... Oh, Dennis has made an error! Dennis must have made an error! He's off! But Degrassi's sliding all over the place. Dennis has lost 8/10 of a second. It's another lockup. It's done for Dennis. Surely it's done for Dennis. 2 errors. And the car's all over the place. And Degrassi's got a 1.2 second margin here.
Two duels in a row where it's been handed to him.
Lucas Degrassi comes through the final corner now. He's got a 3-second margin. Here's Dennis's radio.
Otherwise, you need to finish the lap. Still need to finish the lap.
He's got to keep pushing.
Apologises to the team, but it doesn't matter. Lucas Degrassi across the line, and in his first race for Mahindra, takes pole position in Mexico City. Lucas Degrassi is back. Pole position. Dennis is closing the gap a little bit, but Degrassi would have backed off. The team would have told him to back off. Across the line comes Dennis. Confirmation. Pole for Mahindra. Their 3rd pole position in Mexico City. And an unbelievable shock result in the first qualifying session of the season.
Very similar to mistake to Lauter in the same corner.
Yeah, well, I think he's done 2. I think he's done 2 because he was already 8/10 down by the time we saw him. So I think there's an error at turn. Must have been 3. Must have been 3 for Dennis. Well, I'm sure we'll have a look back at it, but still, 2nd and 4th on the grid.
You still have to smile about that.
Yeah.
And boom, pole position, mate, pole position. Keep your lap time, 120% rule, mate. Keep the tire temperatures up.
And I think that rule might have been brought in, and that might have been the rule that got Degrassi disqualified from his last pole in Santiago all those years ago. But there's Fred Bertrand congratulating the whole team. That was Tom Davis we heard on the radio.
Won't make that mistake again.
No, exactly. But Mahindra on pole position. Well, one at the front, one at the back, because Oliver Rowland didn't set a lap time.
No, the rest of the Mahindra-powered cars and drivers, they must be scratching their heads a bit, but of course, they'll have the data. And Degrassi, a fierce racer. Fantastic starting spot for tomorrow. We can expect him to be in the mix.
His radio.
Copy P1. Come on, team. Come on. Come on.
The light for Degrassi. They didn't actually tell him to slow down on the radio. They let him just, carry on doing what he was doing. Right, what happened here with Dennis? This is turn 1. Sends it in. Little loose there.
Must be here.
What, through 2? Here we go, onto the brakes into 3. Oh, I think it's the next corner, isn't it? Here we go. Oh, big lock up on the right, front. Nearly went in the barriers.
And then that's why he locked up again here, because he picked up some marbles. You see the right front lock again. Oh, disappointing.
Yeah. Dennis had 67% of the predictor vote. Those who were playing along on the predictor, 2/3 thought Dennis was going to take pole. And I would have been part of that 67% to be honest with you. But Dennis doesn't manage to make it. I mean, that front wing does not help.
It was the right front that he locked, and so that's less pressure on that tire. Definitely did not help, as you said, Jack.
Because on both, it was sort of, well, because you're braking and turning, it's kind of, but he was kind of on the loaded front that he was locking, which is a bit unusual.
You are turning right as you're applying the brake there, so yeah, you got to be happy with the front row. Of course, the potential was there.
Absolutely. That is Mahindra's 10th pole position in their Formula E history, and they've only won from pole on one occasion. So that will be the grid on the left-hand side. De Grassi starting at the front. Mahindra and Andretti are now tied on 10 pole positions in Formula E, those two teams that contested the final. But what I mean, no one can predict. Did you predict a grid? Did you do some predictions?
Yeah, I did. I have it written down.
What did you write down?
Let's see here.
You've lost the piece of paper conveniently.
I gotta take them out. I had Dennis.
Oh yeah?
I had Dennis. I did not have De Grassi.
Right. As you said, Dennis on pole.
Had Dennis on pole. Hughes ticked him.
Oh, that's a solid effort.
I did have De Grassi.
What, in Super Pole? In
circled.
Okay. This is a strong debut from Oliver Askew in the commentary booth. And we'll hear from our front row pairing in a few minutes' time. But I think so many shocks up. And the thing is, no one really knows where they are on race pace. I think that's the other, one lap pace is one thing, but the software and the energy recovery and the regen, no one knows from Valencia. Some teams saying, I asked one team about it, they said, we think some of the teams didn't do a race run, that they don't know what's going to be going on. Let's go down and join Nicky Shields, shall we, and hear from our front row drivers.
Jake Dennis, no doubt mixed emotions, but starting front row of the grid, just missing out there. Just talk us through the incidents in that lap.
Oh, there was a few. Obviously, to start in front row, I literally did not dream of this coming into the race weekend. I honestly thought we were far from the quickest, and to end up on the front row, super happy for the team. Andre's fourth as well, but I'm just a bit disappointed with the whole session. They made me go out with half a front wing. And the cars were already hard enough to drive, and then send me out with the front wing flapping around, and then obviously it's just a snowball effect for me, and it's just you're literally going into the fight one-handed. So I don't understand why they didn't give me a new front wing for safety reasons, and I'm pretty disappointed with the officials with that.
So did you know you were going out with a damaged front wing before?
Yeah, the thing's flapping around all over the place. I can see it going down the straight all over the place, and for such safety reasons, I don't know how they let me go out like that. So pretty disappointed. Pole was obviously there for the taking, and nevertheless, obviously front row, we've got an efficient race car, and definitely going to go for the win. Put a new front wing on it and see how we get on.
That's what we like to hear. Thanks very much, Jake Dennis.
We're on an efficient race car, he says, as Roger Griffiths talks to Jim Wright in the back of the garage. That's quite a confident claim.
I don't see how he could know that.
Yeah, exactly.
But I like the confidence. Most of the running this weekend through free practice was all about one lap pace.
Yeah.
So we see a replay here, the wing flapping about. All of the race running is and testing is mostly done on the simulators. Usually the Monday, Tuesday before teams and drivers fly out to events. That's where the engineers earn their money.
Yeah, exactly. So it will be pole position for Lucas de Grassi. Jake Dennis alongside him on the front row of the grid. Jake Hughes in third. Lotterer fourth on the grid. And it's going to be a really, really entertaining Mexico City E-Prix that gets underway now in just 3 hours' time. That's all we have to wait for to go for. But now we can hear from the man who will be starting on pole position for the Mexico City E-Prix, his 4th career pole.
Well, Lucas di Grassi, on your 101st Formula E race, you will be starting from pole position, your 4th in your career. Congratulations.
Thank you, Nikki. Yeah, although I really didn't expect to be here today, and I think I didn't have the fastest car out there. I just managed to do less mistakes, especially with Jake. I think he was pretty quick. And I did a mistake. I was like 0.6 of a second slower than my previous lap. So in my mind, I was like, okay, I start second. But then they said that Jake did a bigger mistake. I take it. Good points and the trophy.
Good. Well, I mean, you've obviously always had huge successes here in the past. You've crossed the finish line first 4 times. You've won here 3 times. But looking into past performance is tricky because the Gen 3 car is such a new beast.
Yeah, it's a completely different machine, a different way of driving. I changed teams, different tires, different systems. So it's a very complicated beast to tame. But I think we did a very, very good job in the last 2 days.
So talk us through what is going to happen in the race.
Nobody knows. That's the beauty of it.
Having had a bit of track time, though, you know, what do you think the biggest challenge is going to be for you with the car?
I think with this car, it's slightly more difficult to overtake than with the Gen 2. Just because we're limited on traction. The car has too much power. The car accelerates extremely fast. So even with attack mode, we cannot put that power down into the road. We're just sliding. You can see on TV that we are sliding everywhere. It's just because we have too much torque. And so I think that, of course, we're going to play in the race, how to manage the tire temperatures, and then, of course, the energy, which here is very critical.
So leading it from the front will be an advantage?
Of course, starting from pole is always an advantage, but the race only finished at the flag. We have 36 laps to be at the front. We're going to try the best we can. We're going to try very hard.
Well, please now let me introduce Mark Feld, the market head of Julius Baer in Mexico, to present you with the Julius Baer pole position trophy. Huge congratulations. Lucas di Grassi starting on pole here at the Mexico E-Prix.
Pole position for Lucas di Grassi, championship leader. Lucas di Grassi, and you know what? I couldn't tell you the last time Lucas di Grassi led the championship. Was it the end of season 3? Has he led the championship since he won the championship? Can't remember. That's something for me to find out in the 3 hours now. And that was the reaction inside the Mahindra team. And it's a weird one because they would have known it was coming for like a whole minute, you know. And yes, it is. I can confirm it is the first time di Grassi is leading the championship since he won it back in 2017. Remarkable.
All right, Karun, interesting qualifying session there. We're going to talk to Frédéric Bertrand, who's walking towards us. He's the CEO of the Mahindra team now, the main man. But a stunning performance from Lucas di Grassi.
Yeah, he really did a consistently good job throughout that session. We saw people around him making a mistake. Stop walking. Well done, that's a good start to your new job.
That's a dream start, to be honest, but it's so rewarding. I think the team did a great job since the beginning of the weekend. We wanted to keep positive, and I think Lucas in the middle of this kept also very positive. And that crazy dynamic worked, I think, in all the different details. People were still pushing. Yesterday it was not so clear that we could be there. Big job done, keep things simple, and but so rewarding, to be honest.
Absolutely, and congratulations from all of us. It really was an awesome drive from Lucas. But going into the race, has the car got what it takes, do you think? I know everything's brand new, but with the data that you've got, do you think you've got an efficient car for the race?
The car is efficient, then you never know. Conditions are changing so much from what we had this morning in FP2 to what we will have this afternoon during the race. But it's much better to start where we will start with Lucas. We hope Oliver will be able to recover a little bit of a punch and then be back to the top positions. But yeah, we are confident, but the day is so long and the competition, because all the others are watching us, but they are so close to us. So nothing is done, but it's much better to be where we are.
Well, listen, you got a guy who's won in Mexico 4 times, so you're in a very good position for that. So talk to me finally. Just we talk about the efficiency. Vern just asked you. What about the tires? Because this is really the first race with the new tires. So Are there a lot of unknowns for everyone going into it?
Of course, there are still a lot of unknowns, but I think Hankook did a great job on delivering those tires. It was always a big discussion how it will be, but I think right now everybody is learning, and we are for sure still far away from knowing what we need to know about those tires. But it seems that the management of tires is also something Lucas is doing very well, so it's a big asset for us within the team.
There's a lot of talk about the tyres, that they take longer than the previous set of Michelins to get into the optimum window temperature-wise. How do you think that will play out during the race?
Honestly, no idea. I hope it will play in our favour. That's all I can do.
Okay, nice. Good luck this afternoon. Congratulations. Go and celebrate, but then I would imagine you've got a lot of data to look at.
Yeah, no, I think the team is rewards a lot of congratulations, so thanks for...
Perfect.
And I will pass them.
I will take that microphone off you. Thank you very much. All right, let's walk this way, Karun. I'll keep this microphone because we're going to try and grab James Barclay. Not the best start for a team who has invested so much in EV mobility, not just with Formula E, but they've come out and said that all Jaguar cars in the next couple of years, actually, will be an electric vehicle. So this is a big investment for Jaguar, and the success of their team is really pivotal to the brand.
Well, they've invested a whole lot into their Formula E program, haven't they? I mean, it's a huge operation, and they've got some brilliant people there. But for whatever reason, ever since we've hit the ground running with these Gen 3 cars, they haven't really got on top of it, has it? You know, it didn't look great in testing. The sounds from the private test days they were doing as well wasn't particularly positive. And throughout this weekend, Sam in particular has had a pretty dreadful weekend, really. You know, both practice sessions didn't really go to plan for him, particularly the one this morning, the crucial one before qualifying. He missed most of that session, so yeah, on the back foot at the moment.
Well, not only that, but the drivers in the Envision team, they were out consistently, did put in some great performances because they're a Jaguar customer car as well. So I would imagine there's a lot of swapping of data going on. I keep going on about the data, but...
Well, they're neighbours here in the pit lane, as you can see.
These cars are all data-driven, literally. Let's just see if James is available. Let's come into the garage. Obviously, it's quiet. I would imagine there's a lot of chitter-chatter going on, Karun, after a qualifying session like that. What goes on when these kind of things happen, when you don't have a performance that you would have wanted to happen?
Well, you know, you use the right term there, which is it's a data-driven category, more so than most others. You know, they'll be looking at just trying to understand and analyze what went wrong, really, and where they can unlock performance. They've got to somewhat compartmentalize what's happened already, because qualifying was all about getting that peak performance over one lap, whereas going to the race, it's about getting that consistent performance across the entire distance of the race. So they're going to go about just trying to forget what happened, which is tough as a driver, to be honest, particularly in Sam's case, because he's already thinking, God, I've got a lot of work to do from the back of the grid.
Well, also, Sam, I would imagine in his head psychologically, and he's been out on social media and he said that he's had some psych help with his performance whilst he's driving. But yes, last year for him was a shocker. It wasn't the best season, let's be honest. Mitch Evans completely outperformed his performances. So he's coming into this thinking, right, I've got to make a mark early in this season. And the car couldn't get out of the darn garage.
Yeah, well, here's James, so we can ask him about it. Because,
here he is. There you go, James. Thank you. Let's get straight at it, James, because we haven't got much time. What happened?
So obviously on Sam's side of the garage, we had that issue in free practice 2, which meant that we changed the rear end of the car. And in doing so, we just made it in time for the start of qualifying. So to be fair to Sam, car not set up. He lost most of his laps and his mileage in free practice 2, so we couldn't really ask much more of him on that. So yeah, really just not a case of not being ready with the setup of the car and for Sam to be able to do his thing properly.
Have you got time to get the car ready for later on?
Yeah, we do now. So the focus will be really getting the car set up properly based on what we've seen from Mitch's side of the garage and getting him ready as we can. But to be fair, yeah, when you don't have time to prepare in this quality of field, and track time is really key in this early part of the season with a new car. So yeah, tough one for him today.
Mitch's performance, how would you summarise that? Because he was in and out of the top 4.
Yeah, I mean the early laps he was fastest, then he was 4th after the first runs, and you'll see it across the field. What's really interesting is there's no consistency by team. It's literally teams are split, and the tyre preparation is so fundamental, and there's not a trend either. So it's really came down to we're learning how best to prepare the tyre to get the best lap.
I would imagine that there's no guesswork because you do have a lot of data at hand when it comes to Formula E.
Absolutely, you're never guessing. You're basing your decision on data and information, and also at this stage we're also trying different things to see the spread, because you want to understand how you've got to that conclusion as well. So it's one thing doing it, do you know how you achieved it? So that's the step that we're going through at the moment. But Mitch was incredibly close. I mean, it's so tight, and he would have been through the duels, and it'll be very different. But top 10. You know, we're positive. We can work from there. We've achieved a lot.
Listen, we've seen how Mitch can put in a performance and just pick up places like crazy. Such a good driver.
Well, this is what I was going to say, James, because surely, you know, you guys were so close to the championship fight last year. We know the sounds coming from Jaguar at a bigger level is, you know, there's a huge investment in EV, electric's your future. This has got to be the year for you to be hitting that championship. Sure, I mean, the expectations from above, let's say, have got to be for that, haven't they?
Well, you know, from our point of view, we're racers. We want to be here to be successful. But the thing we have to remember, we said at the start of the season, this is a reset. We can't take into any of the form we had in Gen 2. It's a brand new car, new sporting regulations. It's a whole new reset. But we've got a great team, and we will, you know, learn and develop and get quicker. And the pace is clearly there in the car. Making sure we have that repeatability is what we need to do next. But I'm not worried about pace and performance. I think it's there. And again, you see that spread. There's other teams, manufacturers we thought would be much stronger that really struggled. So these early races are going to be really about understanding the car, getting to grips with what you need to do to switch it all on.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, James. I'll take your microphone on. You go and get your head in the data. There you go. Right, let's go over to Nikki, who is at McLaren, I do believe. Oh, can I?
Well, Jake Hughes, I mean, where to start? This weekend is going from strength to strength for you. I mean, starting from P3 on the grid, did you expect that?
I don't know if I'd go as fast as I expected it, probably definitely not, but I think the sort of general pace we've had since Valencia and then in free practices here has been pretty strong. So I was targeting the duels before the session. I thought that was, you know, where our pace sort of lay, and then obviously to get through into the semi-finals up against Jake was already a good positive, and a little bit disappointed I didn't quite have enough at the end. I just lost it all in the last corner really, but yes, decent start.
And obviously first time you're doing the 350 kilowatt lap, how was that?
It's okay. It's a bit of an issue with the rear tyres sometimes, trying to manage the traction. There's a lot of power now. Good fun at the same time. Just definitely it's a differentiator between the drivers for sure, to sort of how you manage that the best, especially in a dual format. So it was okay for me, but just not quite enough.
And
all right, gentlemen, let's just quickly summarise, if we can, about what we've just seen in qualifying. We'll start with you, Karun.
Well, I thought Andretti were the standout performance as a team, but the drivers didn't put the laps together when it counted, whereas Lucas kept us cool. He talked about making a mistake on the final run, but he made less of a mistake than Jake, and he delivered. But in the race, I think Andretti will have the upper hand.
Yeah, Oliver, that was it. Well, it's De Grassi's third team in 3 years. You put a veteran like De Grassi in a team like Mahindra, and surely those are the results that you expect.
I don't want to take anything away from Lucas, but he was handed that pole, I believe, today. 2 mistakes from 2 separate Avalanche Andretti drivers. I think they had the pace. They have found something between free practice 1 and free practice 2. They look really, really good. And for the race, man, I really don't know what to expect. And I don't think the drivers and teams know what to expect.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see people like DS come through, because they had tremendous efficiency, we think, in Valencia testing. They didn't get either car into the duels. So, you know, can they come through the pack? And that's one of the things with FE. You know, we've seen people like Mitch we were talking about before. They've come through from way down, haven't they? So a great start to the season and the weekend for Lucas, but it's not a given that he's going to stay there.
Well, let's mention also that DS, you've got the current champion and the only driver who's won back-to-back championships in Jean-Eric Vergne. So there's a lot of experience in that garage. And we know what DS are like. They build and build and build and build. And then all of a sudden you've got this huge firework of victories heading your way. But we'll see if it transpires, because as we keep saying, everything is brand new. Gentlemen, I think we've got an awesome afternoon ahead of us. It looks fantastic. It really
I'm
does.
very excited, as I am for lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, lunch sounds good. Fans are starting to fill in now. It's going to get loud, very exciting. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, brilliant. Make sure you join us a little bit later on for the race, the first race of the brand new season of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship.